This whiskey is 4 months old and it's been aging with these sherry oaked staves. So, does this present like a sherry cask finish? Let's find out. How's it going, chasers? I hope you're having a kick-ass week. I'm Jesse, this is Still It, and this bad boy here is actually my Smokey Bourbon. I'll tell you a little bit more about how that was made later on, but the main purpose of this video is to, of course, catch up on this thing and see how it's doing, but to see if these staves are actually kind of presenting, working, creating the flavors of a cask finish in whiskey. Kind of interesting. So let's see how we go, shall we? First of all, let's talk about the bourbon. This was made in November, end of November last year. It's been aging ever since on these staves, and it is actually the Smokey bourbon that I made to test co-pitching, or not co-pitching, a whiskey yeast and an ale yeast together. So if you want to check that video out, there'll be a link in the description down below. But a real quick rundown on the grist for it. It was malted corn, New Zealand peated malt, so peat dug out of the ground in New Zealand, not Irish or Scottish peat, made by Gladfield, and of course their, what was it? Their Shepherd's Delight as well, which kind of gives us cool, like bready, almost Christmas cake vibe, which I thought would pair quite nicely with the sherry. So here we have it. Now it's a whiskey and it's been sitting for 4 months. So what about the staves? These were sent to me, oh, come on, why can't I open this? In terms of full transparency, these were sent to me by Barrel Char Wood Products, which formerly had a different name and then had to change it because of reasons, just in case you're thinking that it's the same. Yes, it is. I've used some of these products in videos before. And this is a French oak medium plus toast that has been sherry infused. I think, don't hold me to this, I think it was infused in a pretty decent sherry for about 3 months. I think that's what the plan was. And it still smells like beautiful sherry right now, which is why I am keeping this in the extra Ziploc bag to sort of stop it from completely drying out. So, now that you know everything that has gone into this whiskey, let's talk about what the damn thing's actually tasting like, shall we? Smoke, lots of smoke. Peaty smoke, but the New Zealand peat profile, which, if you haven't seen any of my other videos talking about the stuff, it is kind of like a sweeter, richer peat profile, a little bit more like a sweet leaf litter rot in the bush, in the like New Zealandy rainforest. It's a pretty distinct smell and doesn't help the descriptors for those that haven't been to New Zealand forest before. Hopefully you get an idea of what I'm talking about. Anyway, there's a lot of that in here. And to be fair, probably actually for what I was going for, a little bit too much. Because on the nose, the corn's getting drowned out. Yeah, okay, whoa. Yeah, the smoke is coming out to fight. Man, that's interesting. I can't remember what percentage corn I used versus peat. I'll put it up here when I check this after the video. I should have done it beforehand, but I didn't. Sorry, guys. But that's surprising to me. I didn't think I used that much. So yeah, lots of peat. The corn's in there, but it is kind of hiding in amongst like this giant sea of other flavors. And if I was going to make this again, I would probably nudge that more towards the corn side of things. It may also be because I use malted corn instead of cooking corn. Yeah, I could definitely see that being a thing. And it was not distilled on grain. So it doesn't have that really big, thick, oily kind of presence of a bourbon that's distilled on grain without, you know, like a dirty great big column. So all of those things added up together means that it is quite aggressive. There's smoke punching you in the face. It's still new whiskey. It isn't, you know, like aged out and mellowed a whole lot. And then there is, to be fair, a pretty noticeable sherry influence on the back end. So yeah, I did just have one of these little staves in here, and they are small staves, smaller than I would normally use for something that I'm trying to age quickly. But the sherry is noticeable. Not as noticeable as it used to be, but you know what is super noticeable? All of these sweet kick-ass graphic shirts made by Into the AM. Thank you for sponsoring this episode, Into the AM. Now, the last couple of times I talked about these guys, you would have heard me talk about and show you the collaboration t-shirt that we made together. But Into the AM has just released a whole slew of really dope new designs. And unfortunately, being in New Zealand and the shipping situation being the way it is, I haven't been able to get these yet. But I'm showing them on screen right now. And I guarantee you, if you're into their shirts, there's something here that's jumping out and grabbing your attention. So if you're interested, guys, please go to the link in the description down below. That is a special link that'll give you a discount. It gives me props and a kickback for sending you there, and it makes Into the AM happy. They make more dope shirts. We get more dope shirts for cheaper. I mean, how does this just not work for everyone? For those of you that are waiting on specific sizes of the collaboration shirt, yes, I promise you, they're coming. They're almost here, guys. And I will let you know as soon as they land. But let's get back to the tasting, shall we? Thanks, Into the AM. So, what I was getting at before that was that I tasted this about 2 months ago, and the sherry was dialed up to 11. To be honest, I actually prefer it now that it's dialed back just a little bit. But I get the feeling that maybe it's going to carry on that trajectory for a while. The sherry's going to keep dropping off. So I'm glad I did this experiment, and I'm glad that I started the aging process, you know, just with the sherry staves straight in there, French oak. But if I was being smart about this and taking my time and just trying to make something delicious, I think what I would do is age this on less oak, American white oak with a low to medium toast and a, I don't know, like a medium-ish char, like something like a 2 or a 3, depending on what system you use to name it. Like a light char before texture really starts getting burnt into the wood. And I would age this for like a year, 2 years. And then once it's starting to get the profile that I really like, fang in some sherry oak there with the plan on letting it age for about, I don't know, like 2 to 5 months. I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? Like the big boys have been doing this for a long ass time. They've kind of figured out how this stuff tends to work best and being able to be consistent, but also kind of being able to predict what's going to happen and then having a variety of different products to blend back together. I mean, it just kind of makes sense to me. Sometimes reinventing the wheel isn't the best, but there is definitely something to this. I love the peat and sherry profile. I love getting that big smoky whack up front and lingering and then undulating with the sherry profile, which, if you haven't had a sherried whiskey before, guys, go out and try it. Honestly, it's pretty cool. Find one that has a pretty decent sherry influence to it so you can really pick it up. My suggestion in terms of the flavors you go looking for to see what that sherry is doing to influence the spirit would be looking for stuff like sultanas, raisins, almost a licoricey molassesiness, but not quite there. Maybe dialing it back a little bit from that to be kind of like prunes or dates. It's all in that kind of sticky, sweet, dark, dried fruit category, which I love. I absolutely freaking love it. And you pair that with a big, bold smoke statement, and you get something, in my opinion, pretty freaking awesome, which is definitely what this is heading towards, for sure. But it also kind of has that just sort of thin, almost like, I don't know how to describe it, like green crispiness to it of a young whiskey, which is, once again, I've mentioned this a couple of times lately, what it seems like staves seem to head towards for me, without really getting some age on it with a small amount of wood. They get the flavors, they even get the esterification sort of process in my mind. They develop more complex, especially like fruity, floral flavors in the jar, but not so much that softness and the addition of sweetness. I guess that's kind of how it's shaping up for me. Anywho, I'm still really glad I did that, and thank you very much for sending me this. I really appreciate it. I'll make sure to email you so you know this video is going out. And once again, guys, link in the description if you're interested in any of their products. But I need to say a huge thank you to the Patreons. Thank you so much, Patreons, for being the ones that, you know, are basically just the day in, day out support. The people that I get to bounce ideas off. By the way, yes, I have drawn the vouchers for the Into the AM competitions. I haven't sent them yet. I'm sorry. I'll do that as soon as I finish recording, so they'll be out by the time this video is live. Thank you, guys. For everyone else, if you're enjoying these videos, you can go to chasethecraft.com/support to find out the different ways that you can get involved, things you can purchase from Chase the Craft, so on and so forth, if that's what you're into. But regardless, if you enjoyed the video, hit the thumbs up button for me. That helps me out a whole lot. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't done so yet. And I'll catch you next time, guys. Keep on chasing the craft. See ya.